Last time I pointed out that Moses was well trained in science and that one of the largest single sources of fresh water in the entire world is below the desert where God was leading the people of Israel. Moses was educated differently, however, than the people are today. During his time, an attempt was made to teach leaders all knowledge. In terms of breadth of scientific training, there are very few scientists that have been taught in the last 400 years that had the breadth of training that Moses had. The verse will again be about water in the desert and how even with Moses' training, he still needed God. This week will be Exodus 15, verses 22 through 25. The verse begins this way. Moses led the people of Israel from the Red Sea into the wilderness of Shur. For 3 days they traveled through the wilderness without finding water. A few years ago, I went for a morning hike in Arizona. I had a meeting later in the morning, so I would not be gone long. I knew, however, that it was very dry in the desert, so I drank a lot of water, about this much, before I went on my hike. I returned less than 2 hours later, and I was thirsty. When you're in the desert, you need a lot of water, and it must be good to drink. They came to Moriah, but could not drink the water in Moriah because it was bitter. That is why they call the place Moriah. Some of the deserts in the wilderness around Israel are similar to the deserts in the southwestern United States. You may have visited areas on family trips. If you see standing or stagnant water, do not ever drink it. Do not ever swim in it. Treat it as the poison that it is. In our country, every year, people and animals die from stagnant water. In some cases, the water could be boiled and made safe, but what do you do in the desert where you don't have trees for fire, or many trees anyway for fire? To illustrate the problem, this water has been standing for 3 to 4 months. It was sweet, meaning good to drink, when I poured it into these jars, but not so much now. Look at that water now. Standing water is not good after a week or two. After 3 months, it would be poison. What to do? In large communities, a hole would be dug near a body of water in sand, and the sand would act as a filter to clean the water from some of the impurities. During Moses' period, and today in Sudan, just south, there is a tree grown to purify the water more. The tree is a moringa tree and is part of a family of trees with only 13 species. In the U.S., that tree is known as a drumstick tree. We're going to be using the tree or the plant after it's been dried out, and also seeds from the tree. Those are used to purify the water. Moses would have known about the tree. The problem Moses had is that tree is grown 200 to 800 miles from where he needed it. The Lord showed him a log which he threw into the water, and then the water became sweet. Today, about 3,500 years later, a combination of sand filter and moringa is used to clean water in some poor areas. I will construct a small sand filter that tries to demonstrate how this is done. Today we're going to try to demonstrate a sand filter. I'm going to make a very simple one. It's just for a demonstration, and I'm going to use the moringa plant, seeds, sand that I've pre-washed, sort of, and this will be my filter. Some of you may recognize this as a filter system, and I'm using it for a better purpose now. And I will put in a filter to catch everything. Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is to get my plant ready, and I'm going to put all of these leaves and plant parts into my blender. This is, instead of using a tree, this is just really parts of the tree that have been dried up. Next, I'm going to put in some seeds. And the beauty is that I'm going to save some so I can grow some more later. It's mainly these shells of the seeds that do such a good job of filtering the water. But the entire plant is actually edible and can be used for filtering. So what I'm going to do now is I do have a paper filter, and the main reason for the paper filter is to catch this is much smaller than a true sand filter, so it's got to trap everything better. I'm going to put in, about half of the, you can see the moringa kind of comes out like a dust. And what that does is that grabs some of the bad things in the water, followed by the sand. I'll put the sand in here too. Hopefully I don't make too much of a mess here. How many people get a chance to play with sand in the kitchen? And then finally, I'm going to put the moringa on top. What this will do is help kill some of the really bad things in the water. Now let's the fun begin. Now this might, if you do this at home, I guarantee you it'll probably stink, but tasty. Let's put some more in. Now, you certainly wouldn't drink that. As I poured it into the sand filter. You're looking at the stuff on the bottom. It's not looking really great either. But if you really needed to drink water, what the moringa plant would do is kill the really, 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 really bad things in that water and allow it to be drinkable. And if you let that settle, and I'll show you at the end, then you'll find that that water is much, much better than it was before. So if you're in an extremely poor country, a country that has difficulty finding water, I'd still recommend boiling the water. Using this method, you can get water that is drinkable and allow you to survive in the desert. Okay, we filtered the water, and you can see it's not super pretty, but sure does smell a whole lot better than it did. You may find water this color if you go to a very poor country, and one of the reasons for it is it's gone through a sand filter and it's got a little bit of sediment in it. But is it safe to drink? I'd still boil it first, because water like this won't generally kill you. It won't kill you right away anyway, but it's probably not the best in the world. So let's see what it looks like when you pour it into the drink. Oh, that makes very good tea. Iced tea. Enjoy.